Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 401, and today I'm excited because we're going to be doing an update with a seven-figure brand with growth strategies, driving sales, and ranking new products. And this is since I had Jason on the show before, who runs Fortune 500 brands on Amazon and in his own e-commerce as well. But we had him on episode 386. Actually, it was just before Prime Day. And now Prime Day is over and he has some results to share with us. And also what they've done, not even thinking about Prime Day, but also doing a little bit of a pre-planning for a certain season and then building a list for that season without selling them anything right now. It's pretty cool to actually sit down with a seven-figure brand and hear how they plan to grow, because it's very similar to what all of us are doing, and it's what we've been talking about here. And he even talks about that. He's like, it's always about the basic stuff, and then we just do it at scale. Right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm super excited for you guys to be able to listen in on this, and we'll probably have to do another update because Jason is just awesome and he's always willing to share, and he always comes prepared. He always comes with this huge bullet point list of things that they're testing and tweaking and all of that stuff, and he's so willing to share. And it's so awesome that he's sharing the podcast, a lot of the episodes, with people that are on his team to help them grow certain aspects of the business. So definitely do this for me. Go over to episode 386 if you have not listened to that, not now, maybe after this, and you can listen to all of that because it's really, really solid stuff. And I want you to think as far as what is one thing that you're hearing during, whether it's episode 386 or if it's this one here, 401, and pick one thing that you can do right now. And actually Jason talks a lot about that as far as like picking that one or two or three things that you can work on and then just really, really focus on those and put them into play. And then you can see results. Now, the other thing I'll do is remind you really quickly is to download the show notes, transcripts. They can be found at theamazingseller.com/401. And I have to say, feels a little strange saying episode 401 because we're over the 400 episode hump. And if you guys have not listened to that episode, I would definitely say go back and check that out. My daughter actually did the intro to that one, which was pretty awesome. And I got a lot of compliments on that. So if you haven't heard that one, go check that out. And I'm going to stop talking now, guys, so you guys can listen to this awesome interview that we did with Jason. And you're going to learn about promotions and launching and list building and all of that stuff. But we're going to break it down and we're going to really dig into the nitty-gritty. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode with a seven-figure brand. All right. Well, I am super excited to have, someone that we had on that did really, really well as far as listens. A lot of downloads. A lot of people were interested in listening from this guy, a seven-figure brand that we talked about, Fortune 500 company. Jason is back on to give us an update on episode 386. So if you didn't listen to that episode, we definitely want to go back and listen to that one because it was really, really good. And it was also like setting things up for what we were going to be testing, or Jason was going to be testing, and then we were going to come back and kind of revisit it and see how things worked. Well, Jason is back. So Jason, welcome back to the podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. And I have to say, every time that you do this, right, or that you get things ready to come on the podcast, you have this really detailed, and I'm kind of jealous because you do a really good job of breaking things down and talking about things that you're testing and things that you're working on. And you gave me this really in-depth, kind of like a point or a bullet point list of what we could be talking about. And there's a lot. So I want to dig into, number one, an update. Give us an update on Prime Day and the strategies that you kind of put out there and tested. So give us just like a recap really quickly. How did things go?
Yeah, things went well. Things went very well for us. We were about now 6 weeks out of Prime Day,
Yep.
and we're kind of still digesting kind of what happened there and really understanding what kind of lift we have. But we actually had a seven-fold increase on that day for Prime Day for us, which people are like, wow, how did you do that? And there's a lot that we did to do it, and seven-fold is a pretty big number, but there's some cool things that we did, and I'll dig into it if you want.
Yeah, I definitely want to. So, I mean, I guess first and foremost, a lot of people are probably listening. They're like, well, this is a 7-figure brand. There's a lot that they're doing that is like just way beyond what I'm doing. And I want people to understand, and you and I were talking a little bit before we even got on here, all of these principles for the most part are things that you can do at a smaller scale. Just for you, they were, huge because you have a bigger customer list and an email list, but all of that stuff was done kind of on a small scale and then scaled up. So what I really want people to understand is like anything that we're talking about right now, understand you can take one of these things and apply it and then see what the results are. And I think that's what Jason's also talking about is like a lot of the stuff that you're doing is testing. You're not certain like everything's going to work. And I think there was one thing that I want to just dive into first, lightning deals, because I see here you said it was kind of just mediocre. So let's talk about the lightning deal because, Prime Day is a big day anyway without a lightning deal. You had a lightning deal or a few lightning deals. Talk about the lightning deal and kind of what happened there and your thoughts.
Yeah, so we had actually 2 going into Prime Day week. We had 2 that were scheduled for Prime Day, and then we had about 5 others for Prime Week. And I was kind of excited about to see, okay, what's going to happen in Prime Day? Amazon's charging now $500 for Prime Day, thinking that our lightning deals are always pretty predictive in terms of the total volume we can have and which products that we can that work and don't work for us, and there really was not much left for us on that Prime Day deal. It did that additional $500 did not really cover the cost of that offer. I know I've seen other people who sold thousands of units. I think that was maybe a broader category, but our products really did not pop on for our lightning deal, which was a little disappointing, but also you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and you have to play lots of different opportunities on Amazon.
Absolutely. And, I just realized too, I didn't even introduce Chris on the show here. Chris, are you there?
I'm here too. Fine.
Well, you know what? I kind of
was just going to pop in and surprise people. But
I was going to say, I didn't even know that you were there just because we tried to get you on and then we couldn't get you on and then we finally got you on and then you were just so quiet. So anyway, welcome, Chris. But Chris,
I muted myself because I had the hiccups and I didn't want to disturb Jason.
Did you want to talk anything about the lightning deal before we move on as far as, because I know a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I got a lightning deal. This is going to be amazing. And, I think Jason just said like, it was just kind of okay, Well,
and that's, you and I get asked all the time. People are like, oh, are lightning deals worth it? And we always throw out the answer that everybody loves to hate, which is it depends, right? If it works for you, if your name is Nick Gamble, then it
right.
always seems to work for him, right? Like every time I've seen him post about a lightning deal, he sells thousands of units. And Jason, he was one of those people on Prime Day. I mean, he sold out of his inventory, I think, at like before midnight. If I remember, it was like a ridiculous thing, right? And he had the same thing last year on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But if you're not going to sell through it, then it depends. And like you said, Jason, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And to me, that's an expensive basket. $500 is an expensive basket. And for somebody at Jason's scale, it's worth testing, right? But Scott, you and I got offered a lightning deal and it wasn't even on Prime Day. It was Prime Week and it was $300 and we canceled it.
Yeah.
Because we said, look, we'd have to sell, an extra 200 units over and above what we're going to do anyway on that to make it more than like $1 on each one because of the price they wanted it for and the price of the lightning deal. And, for $50 or $100, a lot of times it's worth it. For $300 or $500, you really got to understand your margins and see, okay, if I don't sell the entire quantity, which Jason, that sounds like part of the issue that you ran into. Like if I don't sell through everything that's here, am I going to make money on this? Because you're spending $500 up front and you're making a lower margin. And that's something that a lot of people miss because they go, oh, I got offered this lightning deal. But we get asked that all the time, Scott. And it's something that we actually avoided on Prime Day and Prime Week because we had that same exact thought and that same exact issue.
Well, and we also didn't have the inventory, right? So we knew
that's
we were,
the other thing.
So we were going to run out of inventory. So we knew like, why are we going to do this? If we run out of inventory, it's not going to benefit us. So we just weren't prepared really even to go like full scale out. Okay, let's move on. So lightning deals, and I see here, Jason, though, I'm looking at your notes, and you said here, just like a little tip, for the lightning, deal, I think it was here, let's see, where was that? Or was that the liquidation tip? That was your liquidation tip. Why don't you talk a little bit about liquidation? Because I see you have a point there.
Yeah. So one of our other big moves for for Prime Day, and I think maybe why Amazon's doing it this time of year is it's a good time to move through inventory, right? It's we took some of our slow moving inventory, some of the inventory that we know wasn't moving. We reduced the price almost 50%, and the goal that we had was just move it out. We want to get through this inventory. Our Q4 inventory is going to be ready to get here. That's what we should be focusing on. And these long-term storage fees that are coming up in August. Let's get this inventory out before we incur any of those costs. So what we happened to do was once you start reducing the price to get it to a liquidation price to move, sometimes your product, the retail price of that product is too low to cover the FBA pick, pack, and ship fees, right? Sure. If it's $4, $6, whatever that is. Yep. So what we did, and it worked for some of our products, was we bundled them together. We created a 6-pack of these items and said, now we can show an 85% discount, even a bigger discount, and still be able to move through it and cover the cost of the pick, pack, and ship fees. So
now, did you do a 6-pack though yourself and then ship that in as one SKU?
We did. We had the ability beforehand, knowing that we had this inventory that we wanted to move through, and we were able to bundle it together, create that bundled offer. We added it, though, as a variant to the original SKU, right? There was a 1-pack. Yep. Now there's an individual that had its volume. We had a 1, 3, and 6-pack. The 6-pack was the one that we put on a very big discount because we wanted to move through significant quantities.
I gotcha. And anyone that's even thinking about this, I think the days of shipping in all of your inventory and letting Amazon house it is kind of over for a lot of us because you may not be able to sell through that inventory, and you want to order enough to be able to to have in stock and not run out of stock and not have to just reorder every time and have it shipped over. So a lot of times now what people are doing, including myself, is you're just having a warehouse space. So, and it can be just a storage unit. And then from there, if you do have those pieces, like you said, Jason, then you could create those packs yourself and then ship them in as a different SKU with a new, obviously a new UPC and a FNSQ number. So this way here, it's its own unit. But I like that idea because a lot of people say like, well, I have this stuff and what am I going to do now? Let's use an example that's kind of obvious out there. Fidget spinners. I get people all the time like, how am I going to sell through these? Well, you might want to do a 6-pack and just get rid of the things, right? Like it's something like that you could throw all into one bag and create a more, attractive like 6-pack or 4-pack. And then from there, you can kind of bundle them in together and make that discount seem bigger without, having to do it individually. Okay, cool. So that's a cool little strategy though for the liquidation. Now I also see here that you were talking about, you guys did a ton of stuff and you're saying like after Prime Day, you guys are still seeing a consistent 30% lift from this. And I also see that you're saying that, and I want to go into these deeper, but I'm also seeing that you did have a lot of external stuff, traffic, list, all that stuff that you were also driving over there, which is then going to help lift the Amazon, algorithm and all that stuff and sales. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's really the secret of how we got a 7-fold increase on Prime Day. It was, if we did nothing, I would have said we probably would have got a 30% lift.
Okay.
Right. And that's what we saw that with our sponsored product campaigns. We saw about 30% lift. But the reality is we drove a lot of the traffic to Amazon and really co-promoted that, hey, this Prime Day, it's a cool event. Come shop now, jump on that hype. So that's really how we got a 7-fold increase.
Okay.
And the first big one was the email list that we've been building over the past year, right? We have our customers, we've been getting emails from giveaways, from click through to get an offer, to send them an email with an offer in it. So we have an email house file that we've built of these customers who've ordered from us previously to be able to market to them, to be able to tell them, hey, it's Prime Day, come shop our sale. You have an exclusive offer here. Using maybe sometimes a promo code to shop an exclusive offer on one of our product pages or our storefront that we actually had going.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think people would think to themselves, you're like, man, Jason, you got this big house list. Why wouldn't you just drive them to your own e-commerce store and not pay Amazon? But you understand that pushing that product through Amazon and getting those sales, they are going to then want to push you more because you're starting to get sales and they know that people are buying it. So they're going to want to give you a little bit of ranking love in a sense and start letting you be seen with frequently bought together and this, that, and the other thing. And you understand that. So you're willing to take, I'll call it a loss in a sense, right? Because you could have saved that money in-house if you didn't use the pick and pack, but you know that that's kind of like almost like part of your advertising budget, if you will. Is that correct?
Exactly. And that's where I can tell you the next 6 weeks or so, we've had a 30% lift doing nothing, right? It's been, we had good conversion rate that day because we drove hot traffic to there. They saw an increase in sales. So now we probably moved ahead in the specific categories on products ahead of our competitors if they didn't do anything those days. So.
Yeah, I love that. And let me ask you this though, because there's people, including ourselves. I mean, we're in a situation right now. We blew out of about 1,500 units, like really quickly, and so now we're out of stock. And we are supposed to get stock, I think, in 3 days, Chris, 4 days, something like that. So we're gonna be back in stock. What's your strategy generally when you get back in stock and you want to ramp things up again? What is your strategy at your level and at your scale? Like, what do you guys do to kind of get the ball rolling again?
Yeah, we go back to thinking of it as a new product and have a launch campaign again. Like, how are we going to go out of the gate with this product, knowing that we're ready to show Amazon that this product's ready to sell again. So if it's an email list, if it's an email that goes out, if it's a Facebook ad that goes out, if it's an offer that goes out, to really try and stimulate those sales again and say, pop, here it is. Yep. We're ready to start selling again.
Yep.
Okay. So we actually, when we sell out of products, and we do have quite a lot of products, we probably have over 800 that we talk about, we actually have been turning them off. So the onesie twosies that come back in, and we have size ranges, so it could be a bad experience when the customer's hitting that actually reduces that conversion rate significantly on that page. We actually have been turning products off on Amazon and say, okay, now the product's back, we're ready to go turn it back on, and it gets all of the juice obviously it had before, but it didn't have this lull period of, well, one was in stock, now it was gone, and it was on, it was off, it was on, it was off type of thing. So it's working pretty well with us for our overall account to have higher conversion rates, which we think help as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. Great advice. Okay, I'm moving down the list here, and I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but you have here like email list, okay? And you talk about how you mailed your customer file that you've been building for over a year, okay? And then you said here, like, number one, the email number one was pretty broad in talking about Prime Day and your shop, and you kind of like, in the sale was just kind of mediocre. You didn't show a sale price, and you kind of showed like, just your line, your product line. The second email you said was very specific to 4 products. You talked specifically about Prime Day deals, and you gave an exact price point of the product. And then you said that sold very well. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think when people are opening in emails, they want to know exactly what I feel that they want to know exactly what that product is, exactly what the price point is, to qualify them. So when they're clicking through, they know what they're getting. And I think the one email we sent to them was too broad. It was shop Amazon Prime, shop celebrate with us type of thing, and the click-through wasn't that high. And then when they got to our storefront page, it was like, well, here's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
But when you target them on this specific product is on sale, like, here's a special offer with the exact price point that you're going to be paying. Got it, I want it, click through and buy. So I think there was some pre-qualifying we did before that to get the quality traffic to it, but the customer knew exactly what they were looking at and can say yes or no much more quickly than doing that browse and probably getting lost on Prime Day other places.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I definitely agree, and we've been doing that too. Pretty much, it's like if we want to stimulate sales, over here, then we're gonna focus on that one product versus saying like here's the entire product line. Now
Right.
I'm interested to hear on this though, because I know you were talking about and I want to talk about Facebook click to buy. You have that here, and I think that's interesting. And you spent like $5,000 and almost no sales, and you kind of went on about that. So I want to talk about that and kind of how you can turn that around. But I want to hear, how did it work when you said that you were going to run Facebook ads to your product pages, or your category pages, or just your product line page, right? Like, so it's kind of like your storefront on Amazon. And then from there, they would go and select the product. So this way here, we didn't hurt the conversions on the listing. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Did you end up doing that? And how did that work?
We had two different campaigns that worked. It was similar to that email campaign. The broader one that we had was just basically shop our storefront, see Amazon Prime, and it came to a storefront page.
Okay.
And we got traffic to it, but then it wasn't converting. They weren't moving forward.
Okay.
But then we were very specific about the very specific product line, going to what we really did was a search results page, which had our brand name and 2 or 3 keywords that were very specific to those products we were showing them in the Facebook ad. The Facebook ad had a much higher click-through rate, but then when they hit that page, they were much more likely to convert.
Okay.
So that definitely helped. And then in both cases, we really protected the product pages for the quality traffic that really we're looking to convert.
Okay. So just so people can get a visual on that. So basically you had a Facebook ad that was targeting. Now I see here you're targeting your email list and then a lookalike. So were you taking your current email list, uploading it into Facebook, and then creating a lookalike list?
Exactly.
Or a lookalike audience? Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then from there, you were then putting an offer in front of them that you felt would grab their attention. And then from there, you were directing them to your storefront page or your product page on Amazon. And then from there, they can decide what they wanted. And I just want people to kind of give people kind of like they can actually see it in their mind, because we're doing an audio version here. But okay, so, and you say here that you spent $5,000 and almost no sales, and you said you can get burned. But if you offer a very specific product with sales velocity, price point, like a 2-in-1 in return, you guys did okay with doing that versus doing something that was more broad. I think that's what you're saying.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, cool. All right. Chris, is there anything you want to talk about that before we move on to like Facebook giveaway and email collection? Because I think that's going to be an interesting topic.
Yeah, I think there's kind of an overarching lesson here to be learned. One, Jason, I think it's really cool that you guys aren't afraid, and you and I have had this conversation before, that you guys aren't afraid to mail your house file to Amazon. Now, for those of you guys who listen to the podcast, like, we talk mostly about Amazon here, right? But Jason, you were kind of an e-commerce first business. You have a full e-commerce site, and you're still driving traffic to Amazon. A lot of people with full e-commerce sites are worried about driving traffic to Amazon because they think their customer is going to be gone forever, right? And I think it's really cool that you guys understand that there's a difference there. So I wanted to call that out. But the other lesson that comes out of both your email and that Facebook ad is you, generally speaking, want to always tell customers what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Right? And you saw it both in the Facebook ad where you spent $5,000 and got virtually no sales, and you saw it in the email where you say, hey, here's this cool thing, right? But when you said, hey, I want you to buy this one, they go and buy it. And people always say that they hate being told what to do, but people love being told what to do, right? And you'll see the same thing if you guys test this for yourself. If any time that you can call out a specific offer, a specific product, and drive people to that, you will generally see that perform better. You'll get a lower click-through rate because people will say, well, I don't want that one, but you'll generally get a better conversion rate and higher sales overall. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's perfect.
And then on Facebook, you're paying on a click basis, so I want qualified.
Right. I want fewer people to click.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they're not going to buy.
Yeah. No, I love that. Okay. Let's move on because I love where we're going now. We're going to go into Facebook giveaway / email collection. And I love this, Jason, because you guys are almost pre-planning, okay, for the season when you are going to be emailing these people. So in a sense, you're collecting emails today to email them in the season. You know what I mean? So I love this, and I want you to go really deep into this because I think this is interesting. And I think, what I'm reading here, 50 cents per email, but your whole goal here was to do something fun as far as a giveaway to kind of celebrate Prime Day, but really only collect email addresses and not so much the sale. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so one of our product category lines is a very seasonal product. I'm going to throw out example of gingerbread houses, right? When do people want to buy gingerbread houses? It's for Christmas season, right? Sure. But I have an audience that I can target who will be in market for that, right? We sold them that type of product last year, and we've built lookalike campaigns off of that. So I know who to go target, and these people aren't getting targeted as aggressively in July. Right. So the ad spend out there, or the impressions, the cost per thousand to advertise them is very low, right? Because it's off season for them. It's a group that isn't in season right now buying, right? So, and if I talk to them to go buy that product today, they're going to be like, why would I want to buy that today? Right. You know, like I have no urge to buy it now. But it's an interesting concept. I like it. I like the idea. I want to be informed more about it. So what we did basically was did a giveaway, a contest that was over the top, basically the deluxe item to basically think of like Christmas in July type of celebration. That related to the products we were selling in Christmas, to make sure it was definitely the relevant market to this customer base. And all our goal was to collect email addresses, and we could get a very cheap click through because it wasn't competitive marketplace right now, and it was for a contest, a giveaway of this product that was a similar product, and all our goal was to collect email addresses and basically literally send them a thank you and send them a thank you email to see who's open, see who has some engagement there. But I wasn't going to market them. I wasn't going to try and sell them a product now. It was basically, now I have these names. I know when I'm getting in season, when it's September and October and it's getting closer to their buying time, I can now go market to them. And I already have this connection with them, and I have this email list of names. So when I want to launch my product, when it's the right time to launch it, boom, I have a pool of names to now go target.
I love that. My question is this, and I know it's going to be questions of people listening. Okay, you're doing this.
What are you doing between now and then?
What's that?
What are you doing between now and then?
Yeah, there you go, Chris. Like, we think alike, right? Like,
I know. That's why I started laughing, because I was like, gosh darn it. He started talking before I did. He's going to ask the same question.
I beat you to it. So what do you do? What do you do in the meantime? Like, the list is going cold. How do we keep them warm, or don't you care? You just warm them up with some content when you start getting ready to kind of get them primed up, ready to go. Is that your kind of mindset, or do you kind of try to keep them engaged up until that point?
We're going to do a few like sneak peeks or coming soon, or kind of some added content about the category of what we're talking about, but we're not trying to sell them, right? Our product's not out yet. We know the conversion rate's going to be low. So, and it's few and far between. Say between now and 3 months, when we want to really hit them up with the sale, we'll probably email them once or twice a month with some content.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's hard. You know, we spent the money to acquire these names, and you're holding them, right? But you got to know when to hit them up at the right time.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's one of those things that, and you're housing these lists, so it's going eventually it's going to start costing you more money when you house these lists. And if they're not producing, then you got to kind of do a cleanse and stuff. When does the cleanse happen for you guys? Do you guys like maybe send them a couple emails before and see who's opening, and then get rid of the people that aren't opening, or do you don't care?
We'll make sure that the list is meeting our thresholds of what open and click deliverabilities and deliverability rates, to make sure that it's still a healthy list. But we'll hit them up pretty aggressively through the season, right? And then maybe coming up to the end of the season, depending what inventory you have. And again, another way to move through some inventory at the end of the season is be more aggressive with an offer with them. And then after that season's over, we'll then cleanse the list that we have.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. Chris, anything you want to add on that before we move on to another cool topic here, which I see in all caps, huge success, and that's Facebook Live events. So I want to talk about that too. So Chris, anything you want to talk about the email stuff?
I think that's very interesting that you guys are doing that. And Jason, I'm curious to see what happens with that list. And I know a lot of people, and I know like you and I have had this conversation in the past, you guys are very conscious of all of those things, right? You don't do anything and then kind of forget about it. You do it very intentionally. But a lot of people would forget about that small follow-up. And my general suggestion to people is at least twice a month, ideally once a week, to follow up with those people. But if what you're doing is really holding them and there's nothing that you want to offer them other than a couple pieces of content, and you know that, what is it, middle of September maybe, that you're going to start talking about gingerbread houses, then you can kind of get away with it. But you do want to keep that list warm, because if you don't send them anything between now and then, it starts to get weird for people. And then you see some of those decreases. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing a little bit of follow-up there. And it doesn't surprise me at all, knowing what you guys do.
And here's another just numbers of why it works is when we're in season, we pay up to $1.25 click, cost per click in Facebook. We got these clicks to this giveaway for 17 cents. Wow. We were blown away that we could get a click off of Facebook for 17 cents on average.
So
right?
20%, give or take.
Yeah. So,
and was that a video ad, or was that just a regular image ad? Like, what was the ad?
Regular image ad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. No, that's but again, you're forecasting, right? You're kind of prepping and planning. So many people want to just drive traffic to a direct offer like right now. And they just want to get the sale. And I get emails all the time like, Scott, it's not converting. Or I built the email list. Here's another one I get a lot. I built the email list. I emailed them once and I didn't do that well with it. And that's it. Done. I'm like, well, number one, you have to keep them warmed up. And number two, you can't just email them once. And you got to we always do some type of deadline. So that way there's a little bit of scarcity in that play. Do you guys add any deadlines like it's going to expire or anything?
Definitely we do. Especially when we're launching products, we want those sales pretty quickly too. So it's like introductory offer. It's almost the reverse of when new product lines come out and it's like full retail price and then people start reducing it. We actually start a little bit the opposite and say introductory offer for the exclusive members we have for these 5 days only. So
note the languaging there, guys, that it's an exclusive offer, it's an introductory offer, and it's only for the people in this club. Right? Or in this thing. It's exclusive to you because you're important to us. Right? And that's the language that makes and drives all of that stuff. One, you're giving them the deadline, which is huge. And I think it's interesting, Jason, that you guys did send 2 Prime Day emails. Now, were those back to back? Were those a split test? Or were those at different times to the same list?
They were different times to the same list. We actually did 3 during that 30-hour time period. We sent 3 different emails. That's
exactly kind of what we talk about, right? When you're doing anything in terms of a sale, and we talk about this for product launches, you're going to send the first one, and that's just going to let everybody know they're getting the product at a discount because they're important to us, right? And it's going to expire on Sunday. Okay. We then send a second email. Hey guys, just wanted to remind you that it's still there. And then Sunday we're going to send one. Hey, it's expiring today. And what you'll see is a big spike both at the beginning and at the end, right? Because you're letting people know about it both times. They know that they're getting it because it's important to them, and they know that they're getting a deal and that they won't get it if they don't get it by Sunday. So it's extremely important when you're doing something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's if you had someone that had a business and you just introduced, number one, building a list, but then also sending out 3 emails, with the right languaging, the right headline, the right hook, all that stuff, that could be a huge bump for that business. And I love it that, we could do this on a small scale or you can do it on a big scale, like Jason is talking about here, which I think is really cool. All right, moving on, because I know we've got so much to cover. I want to try to get this in without missing a few things. And I think we're going to have to probably do another follow-up, Jason, because you always bring so much I'm like, how do I even condense this down? But it's awesome. I'm so glad that you're willing to share, because this is really cool. Facebook Live. You weren't even talking about Facebook Lives the last time we talked. And I see that you're pretty excited by the all caps that you put in here.
Huge success.
Yeah. And I just want you to walk us through Facebook Live and kind of how you guys used it, what you did, and how were the results.
Yeah, so we've had a Facebook fan page, right, for, I'm going to probably say 6 years now, right? We're an established e-commerce brand, and kind of when everybody was jumping on the bandwagon of building a page and getting your fan base up,
sure,
we did that, right? And we never could monetize it, right? How much revenue could you actually generate back to your site from these people? And it was and then the organic post that you did stopped getting
Yep.
visibility, and then
Yep.
everything became paid, and now the paid, you can really measure that. But so we've had this engaged Facebook audience that we can talk to, that we've been talking to regularly, who we've been providing content. They like us. They help us introduce new products. We give them, we talk to them in terms of, do you like this new, should we be introduced to go in this direction or this direction, or things that are engaging with our brand. We have a story to tell and people want to hear us. We have another product line that they just want the product. They don't want to engage with us. But this, for one of our product lines, people are engaged, and I think they pay attention to our fan page. So what we did was, on this fan page, we basically said, special announcement coming out on July 11th. Stay tuned, 10 a.m. Join us, our Facebook Live event. And we peppered them for probably about 2 weeks beforehand that we're doing something cool, right? And so we wanted to get people ready to go, so we didn't want to have this Facebook Live event and be like, oh, nobody showed up.
Right.
So we
now, were you driving people there from your email list too?
We were not. We did not step into that yet. Okay. The answer is we will be definitely next time.
Okay, but so
right?
Okay, so just so people are clear and so I'm clear. So you just basically had your Facebook fan page. You made all of these announcements, and kind of like you're talking about, the engagement is strictly on just the Facebook fan page, and whatever traffic you got from that, you got from that.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And just I mean, can you share, like, how big is that fan page?
We have about 30,000.
Okay, so it's not
fans.
it's not. I mean, it's big, but it's not massive. But it's 30,000. It's to me. I mean, most people in a brand can build that, and you did that over 6 years. We started one recently, and we're up over 7,000 fans already, and that's just from running ads. And then we didn't do ads to get likes. They just naturally come because we're running ads through our Facebook fan page. But anyway,
the Facebook piece was, in terms of our business, was this kind of like little offshoot going on over here that we could never monetize, never put energy behind. Now it's like, hey, wait, now we can see momentum here.
Right. Okay, cool. So, all right, you made this announcement. You're on Facebook. It's just a fan page. It's not a group, right? It's just a fan page, so it's anybody can just like the fan page. So go ahead. So now what happens?
We had our Facebook Live event was with our brand manager and our product development. So the face of the brand, who we want people to recognize as these people are connected to the brand. They're real people. They're making, quote, the real products. So we wanted to make sure it was very put the face to a brand, right?
Sure.
And we started open our Facebook Live with, hey, thank you for joining us. Here's how many people we have. Like and share this to try and get it out there, to create this buzz of, hey, we're live. We have a cool announcement to make. And before we really got to the announcement, because it takes some time to get people to have your Facebook Live get shared out, we did a couple giveaways. We said, hey, comment on here, where are you from, and ask us any questions. And we were trying to be engaging for the first 5-8 minutes. And then we basically hit them and about like, hey, did you guys know it's Prime Day? Celebrate with us. We're introducing a new product specifically on Amazon. It's an Amazon exclusive product, and we're launching it on Prime Day to celebrate. And the call to action was in the banner of it was, click here to sign up to get a exclusive offer on our product introduction that we have, right? Okay. So we had this Facebook Live event going on. They could interact, talk to us. We were talking all about the product, all about the features of the product, why we're introducing it now, kind of a little bit of why we partnered with Amazon. But there was a clear call to action of, click here to get your offer, right? Click here to join, to celebrate with us, to get an additional 15% off this product.
Now, where was that link placed? Was that in a comment below, or was that a URL that you guys redirected them to? Like, where were they clicking?
It was a URL under the main text, under the main.
So it was in the body of the post.
It was in the body of the post, correct?
Okay,
gotcha.
Just something you guys may want to try, Jason. Also, drop that URL in the first comment.
Yep,
or a comment and then pin it.
Yeah, we had people. That's exactly how we did it. When people asked, "How do I click enter?" We did also add it to comments. Somebody was following along, and then we did pin it as well. That was in live. Okay. So we had we are kind of excited that people joined us, right? We had 100 viewers basically on average during the time period we were on for 18 minutes.
That's great.
It ended up being 2,200 total views by end. So we were like, that was pretty exciting there. But then what we did after that was even more exciting because it had, when people share and like a Facebook Live post, I think Facebook likes these live events, right?
Yeah.
They like it's kind of like organic traffic was, or their organic posts were years ago, where they actually get visibility. So they got in people's news feeds pretty quickly. But then what we did was we put a few bucks behind. We took that live event, basically used that as our creative ad, and then boosted that event, and then to our fan page, and then a lookalike group off of that. And that's really where it took off and kept that Facebook Live event. It wasn't just 18 minutes long. It lasted for 2 days of continuing to get comments and shares and likes and people entering the contest for us for this product. So we were pretty excited that we created a video asset to use for a ad.
Yeah. No, that's awesome that you said that, number one, because I didn't know that you were going to even share a Facebook Live stuff before we got on. And then I looked through the notes before and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. He was going to talk about Facebook Live. This is really this is a big nugget for anyone. And some people be thinking to themselves, like, well, how do I do a Facebook Live? Because I don't really have a face. This is where you can either find an influencer in your space that could do one for you, or you would then try to add someone to your brand that could be the face of the brand. And this can really be powerful. The other thing I want to add is that you took this. Now, yours was more or less kind of a time thing, though. So yours, you can't like take that now and reuse it. But with what happened, and I'm pretty sure you're probably already thinking along these lines, but creating an asset right now that you can almost test, right? You're going to test something and then you're going to see how well it does live, but you're also going to keep in the back of your mind that you probably want to have something that could be evergreen. So now what you can do is you can push that post after the fact, just, and you can decide how well it did on the live, and then you can put a few bucks behind it and see how well it does that way. The other cool thing that we found, and this was totally by accident, is we did a Facebook Live, and it was really like just demoing the product, but then also showing, different ways to use it and stuff. And I don't know if it was through there or our email list, but it got shared on a huge group, massive group. And then we ended up selling through all of our inventory in like less than 10 hours. Like we sold, and we only had like 500 units. So we sold through like really fast. So it also made us say, holy crap, like when we get that product back in, we probably want to put some ad spend behind that because it did really well into another group. And that, also, can continue to kind of bring in sales. And then the other thing that we found out is when we ran out of stock, because we had a redirect link, we were able to then intercept the traffic and then push them to a landing page and start collecting emails for a wait list, which I think is another important thing for people to understand as far as if you're doing anything like this, drive them to a link that you control. It can be a URL that you buy through GoDaddy and then you just redirect it, or a pretty link or some type of redirect link plugin. Chris, you want to add anything, or Jason, anything more on the Facebook Live stuff?
I think Facebook Live is huge. And Jason, you pointed out something that people might just glaze over, and I want to kind of highlight. You said you created a video asset, right? You created an ad. Yep. Basically. But you're providing value, so people don't see it as an ad. Even when you do that as a boosted post, you're adding value there. It's really difficult to add value or to showcase stuff in an ad, especially like the Facebook ad types, right? And Facebook Lives, I think, are incredible for that. One, video ads, at least in my testing, tend to outperform text or image-based ads. And Jason, I don't know if you guys have had the same experience with that. But the video creation is the thing that always holds people up, right? And Scott, like even us, we tested a video ad in our first giveaway in the new brand, and you and I were talking about it, and I said, yeah, we should probably test a video ad. So we just created a GIF. Yep. Right, because we didn't have the time or the energy or the monetary resources to create a video, so we created a GIF. But if you could jump on and do a Facebook Live talking about what you're doing for the giveaway, you can then use that. It doesn't have to be like this really well-produced video. It's raw, it's real, and people really respond to that. And I think that's huge. And the other thing, Scott, that you pointed out is that you should always be using a link that you control, right? Do not link this straight to the Amazon page. Do not link this straight to the checkout page. have the link redirect. And the reason for that is exactly what you just said, Scott. We blew through a few hundred units in less than 24 hours. And the only reason that we were able to kind of salvage some of that additional traffic that continued to come, we doubled and tripled the number of people who saw that Facebook Live by doing nothing other than getting it shared in a larger group.
Yeah.
We would have lost out on all of that traffic if we didn't control that link. And we, thinking on our feet, swapped out the landing page from the Amazon landing page to a landing page that we controlled, and we were able to capture. I think it's well over 100 email addresses, right, of people who are raising their hand and saying, as soon as this thing is back in stock, email me and tell me I want to buy it, right? And going back to what Jason said earlier, when they stock back in on our product, they're trying to do a launch again. Well, guess what? We have 100 people who have said that they're willing to buy the product day one when it's in stock, and you better believe that we're going to hit that list up as soon as we can.
And the crazy thing is we did our Facebook Live without it even being a discount, and it got shared and we sold it at full price. So it wasn't even a discount involved. So again, now you're starting to say to yourself, well, maybe I should do a discount and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like we didn't even try. It just kind of happened, which is pretty cool.
I think the other thing that people need to keep in mind, and Jason, this is something that you'll see, is like the more you do Facebook Lives, the faster they get traction, because people start to see it. They start to click the, notify me. So Jason, I'm curious to see if you do like 2 or 3 of these in the future, what happens in terms of your live concurrent viewers and your total viewers by the end, because you should see that number start to sneak up because people get notified a little bit faster if they've interacted with the videos and stuff in the past. So I'm curious to see what happens as you do those.
And Jason, so like now that that's happened, like, so is that part of like, your guys' like strategy? Are you guys going to be focusing a little bit more on Facebook fan page and Facebook Lives now?
Yeah, Facebook Live definitely has some momentum there. We have already mapped out the next 3 that we're planning to do. So it's exciting, and we will be tapping our email list kind of to tell them as added value here, hey, join us on our Facebook Live event. So to try and get that traction out of the gate.
And the cool thing with that, though, and again, a lot of people, again, going back to the email list, and you keep kind of hearing us kind of go back to that. But the cool thing is when people look at just the sale, but now you're able to take those people, drive them over to a free piece of content that you're going to be doing live, and they're going to be able to help you, not by even buying it, but by sharing it now, right? And then that can blow everything up. So I'm really excited to see what happens. So again, we'll have to have you back on. You'll have to give us an update on what happens with these Facebook Lives, because I think that's going to be huge for you guys in doing this, because now you I think you were just kind of like, at first you're kind of like, we'll just try to see what happens. I'm not really expecting too much. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like I think we should probably kind of double down on this a little bit and kind of play around in this and see what happens. So no, that's exciting stuff. I think that's going to be, it's going to be good for you guys. Anything else you want to add on that, or what else did you want to discuss before we wrap up? I know we've got maybe about another 10 or 12 minutes before we wrap up, and I know we've got a bunch more that we could cover, but what else did you want to kind of go into, or maybe some big takeaways that you wanted to kind of leave people with?
I had a little story here of even a bigger brand who is I would say has been successful on Amazon, runs into some problems, right? And I had a little story here. We were trying to move through one of our products, liquidate one of our products, and we had a lot of the inventory. We had thousands of units, and we discounted the product pretty aggressively, and started seeing momentum, started seeing the sales. And when you start getting attention and seeing this volume, other people are probably paying attention to you too, right? Probably looking around. And we had hijackers jump on our listings, and we had to go figure out how to get them off our listings. We're brand registered. We went to the brand registries, filed a complaint. They ended up turning off our listing instead of their listing, which caused even more problems. We had to escalate that. It took another 24 hours or so for them to figure out the right listing. But then we ran into this awkward problem, and talking about liquidating product is, I haven't heard many people talking about this, but there's a min-max field in Amazon. If you set your price too low, it gives you these low inventory warnings, and your product can get automatically shut off because Amazon's actually thinking you actually priced it too low, that there's an error going on. So we were running into problems with this min-max field and price setting that we had to adjust. So we had a nightmare. And the whole goal was to move through this inventory, and it was one problem after the next, after the next, after the next. And sometimes you just got to realize that, you know what, it's not going to work, and figure out how to take your loss before you get too invested and headaches of trying just to move through inventory.
That's a good lesson learned, but man, it's a painful one for sure. And that's interesting. And I just wonder, we don't know what that low price point is, right? And until you get into a situation like this, or do you have any insight on that, Jason?
There is a metric in Amazon that says if you price it 6 times lower than the max retail price, it's going to potentially give you a warning. Then, interestingly, if you set that price a min-max field, there's another pretty vague statement in Amazon that says if you set those fields, Amazon has the ability to change the price as they see fit within that range, which is mind-boggling, because I thought I could control the listing and the price, and then you just actually, by adjusting those fields, you gave Amazon the ability to adjust your price. So we didn't know what was going on. So interesting.
Well, and this is something that I've actually had a theory about for a while, because there's also an issue where if you come in at a higher price point than your competitors, that you don't end up in the buy box on your own listing. And it's like, I've seen it where if you come in 2 or 3 times above, right, it's FBA, everything is set up correctly. They just say, oh yeah, no. And then when you lower the price back down, magically you're in the buy box. And if you lower it too low, you lose the buy box. It's like, okay, so they're trying to figure out what the correct range is. And if you come in and try to sell a garlic press for $1 million, it kind of trips them up, and they go, a garlic press is not worth $1 million, dude. Come on. There's something shady going on. And the same thing probably happened to you guys, Jason, on the other side, where they said, well, normally this sells for $40, but they're selling it for $1.85. Something is weird.
Exactly.
And they do that to try to protect you, but it doesn't necessarily always play in your favor.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's crazy. And again, it's you can sit here and say, well, Jason's, got brands that are doing great, and they're, they have no problems. Everything is great. Listen to everything that they're doing. But there's those things too, and there's struggles. And it's like I've said before, it doesn't matter if you just bought a franchise or if you started up a brick and mortar, you're going to have issues. It's just, these are part of the business of e-commerce, or the problems of being in business in e-commerce. And it just happens that Amazon is one of those channels. So just understand that going into this, but everything can be solved in a sense. It's just going to take some time, and you're going to learn through that process. And like you said, Jason, you learned pretty much that this whole thing that you wouldn't have known if we didn't price too low and then have Amazon take over your listing in a sense. So that can be frustrating though, for sure. I do want to leave people with a couple of things here that you had made notes to, and really just you had here, never stop innovating. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? And also what you feel is a huge part of being successful in business. So if you can just kind of wrap up with that.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can get too comfortable with these products are selling and they're continue to sell. But it's always definitely very important to kind of see how are you going to keep adapting, keep adjusting, and what's the next product within that space that really is going to be the next launching point for to keep your momentum growing. So tools like Jungle Scout or tools like Scope that are out there that really can help that you should be paying attention to what's going on, who else is out there, and not feel comfortable that you're hitting your sales targets today, but what could potentially change with that. And part of that innovation too is always staying on top of what's changing with Amazon. Amazon changes things so frequently. If it's early review program, they just introduced headline search ads. If they're the new storefronts, how to get feedback. There's so many different things that you need to be figuring out how do they apply to you, and how are you going to kind of stay with the competition in terms of the other sellers doing this stuff to know to stay quote with the game or ahead of the game to know what's going on.
No, that's That's, those are some great points, because again, it's always changing and you kind of have to stay up on those things. And some things are really cool, like, like headline search ads now. And it's like, okay, so now we got to play around with that. And again, we can probably dig into all those different topics that you have here, which we'll probably have to do on another episode. But, there's a lot of things that are changing, and there's a lot of things you can do. But he also said here, really like kind of focus on what you're good at and kind of like what's working now, and then just kind of, keep that momentum and then kind of grow that thing. Like we're talking about a lot of different things that you can do, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't mean you have to do everything all at once. And I kind of want to leave people with this. I want them to understand, like for you guys, like you would think like this massive, brand awareness and all of this stuff. But when you launch a product on Amazon, it's pretty much, it's a new product, right? You go ahead.
It's a new product, and interestingly, 10 by 10 by 1, right? That's,
right.
We're looking for that as well. At an individual product level, that looks like success for us.
Yeah. Right? So you're looking at the basics, and from there, the only thing that I see that you have a pretty good advantage. You have two things, I think. Number one, you have an account that you're selling product through. So you have an account that's semi-seasoned, right? You have an account that has sales history, all of that stuff, which I've said in the past that will, over time, as you build and you grow and you get sales consistently and you take care of your customers, you have good feedback, all that stuff, your account gets a little bit better as far as like when you launch a product, they may say, you know what, they've been around a while, we're gonna put them a little bit ahead of someone that's just starting. So that's number one. Number two is you understand email list building and driving traffic to Amazon to spike the algorithm, to spike sales, and to get the momentum started. Like that's it. Like those are the two things that if people would understand, like everything else is kind of like just routine. Like you have to do a listing, you have to optimize it. Like all that stuff is kind of like the roadmap, right? It's like kind of like you just have to follow the blueprint. But the other stuff going up there, you guys start off with a brand new listing, never sold anything through that listing. You have to go ahead and fully optimize pictures, all that stuff, back end, all that, start your pay-per-click, but then you have something that some people don't have, and that's an email list to push sales. And now with Facebook Lives and stuff, that's going to be a whole nother little channel you guys can drive stuff through. But would you say that that's accurate?
That's accurate, yeah. And the other part of that is the bigger you get, the harder it gets sometimes to launch products, because you have processes that you need to follow, right? And you have to, from step 1 to step 55, it's hard. So sometimes it's easier when you're smaller to be like, okay, here we go, we're going to get this product launched, boom, boom, boom.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta almost go through all of those different channels or departments in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of go through the procedures that that the brand is set up, which as you get bigger, you have to start thinking about these things. So
I think the other thing, Scott, before we transition topics, the other thing that I know Jason and his team do really well, and part of it's from listening to this conversation, part of it's from the conversation we had with he and part of his team at Seller Summit, but they have the ability to problem solve and troubleshoot, right? Because you can have 2 listings that you do everything identical on. You optimize the same way. You pull 5 listings from scope. You pull the keywords. You do that, and for some reason, it just doesn't go. And that I think is the thing that a lot of people, they just go, well, I launched it and nothing happened, right? And Jason, I know you and your team kind of take a look at everything. And Scott, this is what you and I do too. You take a look at everything and go, well, okay, if everything else is equal, we missed something somewhere.
Yeah.
And you have to have the ability to go back and reflect and see where you missed. And I know Jason's team is really good at that. And that's something that I think you and I get emails a lot that they missed just that reflection, right? They said, I did everything right up front. When we do hot seats, and we get that all the time, my listing is perfectly optimized. Well, if it was perfectly optimized, you'd be selling more, right? So let's take a minute and see if we missed it in the title, if we missed it in the description, if we're just not positioning the product right, if we're not talking about it correctly. We might think it's a gingerbread house, but it's actually a gingerbread fortress, right? Though, that's kind of the other lesson that I think people need to pull out of that is, that's kind of that last missing step. If everything goes well, then great. But if it blows up in your face and you did everything else right, you have to have the ability to go back and walk through it step by step and see where it broke.
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of like starting. or having everything launched and then going back and kind of like taking each step and going back and seeing where it didn't work. And then from there, that's something that you need to test to try to get that thing to work. So it's kind of like you're reversing the process in a sense, and
exactly.
and that's huge. That's huge for any business, small or large. All right, let's end with something I know that you want to definitely address because it's a big deal for you, because none of this could happen, especially at the scale that you're at, without other people helping you. So why don't you talk a little bit about a team, and depending on if someone has a 1-person team or a 100-person team. What does a team mean to you, and kind of like all the different workings within that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a key thing about how to grow and how to scale is making sure you identify that that what your culture wants to be and kind of how people are quote work together, what their skill sets are, but really helping to them identify what does success look like, what are goals, what are the objectives, and write it down. We have a board. We have a whiteboard up there that we have what we call a daily curve that we're literally doing tick marks of did we hit today's sales? Did we hit today's sales with overall sales or with a new product launch? And we have clear goals, and we celebrate when we do that, right? So people want to be rewarded. They want to know what success looks like, and they definitely when you become a larger organization, might get lost in the minutia about it's a widget, but it's not just a widget. It's here's all the moving parts, and you have to kind of be invested in the overall goal. So that's definitely very important.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. And, it's funny because I just mentioned this the other day on another episode where, I kind of look at business as a game in a sense, right? So we have a team, and I always kind of relate it back to sports, but it's like if I have a football team and we get together, we're all going out there to win as a group, right? As a team. And we're going to run plays, and some are going to work and some aren't. We're going to go back in the huddle, and we're going to talk about it. Or maybe the people that are up in the booth that are looking down, that are seeing the defense do something differently, we're going to adjust, right? And that's team. So you're going to celebrate together, and you're also going to, talk about the failures together and how we can then kind of come or kind of overcome those. And I think it's important for people to understand that everything that we're doing is kind of like a test, but we're also kind of going after those goals in mind. So whether you're a 1-person team with just yourself, you can still create these short-term goals, long-term goals, and then from there celebrate, the wins, and also then address the failures. And then how do you pivot from that moment? But if you have people that are within your team, 1 person, two people, 10 people, definitely have the same vision. And then also, like you put here in your notes, reward them. Like, give them some type of incentive that if we hit something at a certain level, they get something. And it doesn't have to necessarily be money. It could be like you're going to get a dinner out with your wife, for the night or whatever, or maybe a hotel and a dinner or whatever, right? Like there could be something like that you can reward them. And then from there, everyone is happy and everybody's kind of on the same team. So I love it. Chris, anything you want to end with the team stuff? I know we have our own little internal team that, we kind of do similar things. And it's kind of like, I think you just feel more part of the process.
Well, you do. And going back to your football analogy, the one thing that a lot of people miss, whether they're a solo entrepreneur or they're on a team, and Scott, you and I are both guilty of this, is you don't, the phrase that gets thrown around like in the Silicon Valley community, and our buddy Joel's going to have a heart attack when he hears this, but you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But you need to know what you don't know. If you're a quarterback, you're not a running back, right? You're not designed to put your head down and run. And if you get hurt, that causes issues. But you're really good at throwing, maybe you have to scramble, right? So you have to know what you're good at. And if you're a solo person, you don't do the stuff that you're not good at.
Right.
You find somebody that can do it for you. If you're terrible on video, maybe you don't do Facebook Lives. Maybe you find somebody to do that for you. You don't have to do everything. And that's the thing that bogs a lot of people down. If you're by yourself, it's impossible to do everything. And as you start to find people who can bring you up where you're weak, that's when you start to build the team, and that's when you can start to expand that stuff. So you have to be honest with yourself, identify where you're weak, and then see if you can find somebody that's strong in that area. And Jason, just having met some of the people on your team, I know that's how you guys are built. And I think that's a big portion of the reason why you guys are so successful right now, and you're going to continue to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jason, man, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy. And like I said before, hopefully you'll come back on again and share some of your insights and some of the things that you're working on. Any last little bits of advice for anyone that's either starting or that's, kind of moving through, this Amazon / e-commerce space?
It one step at a time. It takes time, and reward yourself with the little successes. To look at the one day ahead and what are you going to get accomplished today, and be proud of when you get it accomplished.
Yeah,
that's important.
It is important. And from a guy that ran 100-mile something or another, I don't even know what it was. What did you run that you ran like 100 miles?
It was a 100-mile trail run in the desert of Arizona.
Crazy, right? So take it from a guy that's ran 100 miles to take one step at a time, or one stride at a time. Because this guy knows about taking one step at a time. I don't know how you did it, brother. I really don't. But congratulations.
I'll tell you how he did it. Do you want to know how he did it, Scott?
How did he do it? Tell me.
One step at a time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did. All right. Well, hey, Jason, thank you so much, man. And I look forward to hearing more. I know we'll be in touch, and keep me posted as usual, and keep rocking, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I will be back in touch with letting you know how our big seasons have come.
Awesome. Chris, thank you again too, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime, man.
All right. So I wasn't kidding, right? I mean, we can go on for hours with Jason. He's just so willing to share, and just an all around great guy. And fun fact, and you guys heard me talk about that, the guy ran 100 miles in one race. Craziness. And if you've ever met him, he's just a small little guy. He's lightweight guy, thin. I mean, you got to be thin if you ran 100 miles, right? I mean, oh my gosh. But anyway, the guy knows what it takes as far as like hard work, and he knows what it takes in a business and just in doing stuff like that. And a lot of it is mindset, and he's got a great mindset. He's just a smart guy too. But I just want to thank him again, and I want to thank all of you that have emailed me since the last episode, which was episode 386 that I had him on, and or whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, and just really just saying how much you enjoyed that deep dive. And I can also look at the numbers and know that a lot of you listened, because I got a ton of downloads from episode 386. So, and I think this one will probably be right up there with it as well. And we'll be having him back on. But again, I just want to go back to pick one thing that you can focus on, that you can either add to your business or just even during a launch. The one main thing that I know a lot of you have been asking questions about when we do Facebook Lives is the list building. So I'm going to actually give you a resource here. If you have not heard me talk about this, we did a free workshop, totally free. All right. And it shows exactly how you do what Jason's doing and what we're doing. And it's working really, really well. And that can be found at theamazingseller.com/build list. All right. So that's it, guys. That's going to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys got a ton from this. I'm going to remind you, as always, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I'm rooting for you. But you have to. Come on, say it with me. Say it loud. Say it proud. Take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode.